Hello, Dad here. I was out walking earlier and it was really windy and the weather wasn't conducive to recording while I was outside. So I'm here inside my little bedroom. And one of the things, uh, well, I've been working an awful lot and I haven't been able to get these together so I can keep kind of a record running for my kids and for whomever else would want to see these. The One of the things I talked about in my last little film, I guess, or log, whatever you want to call it, was thinking about how to monetize the training of people for assault and rape prevention, things like that. And I just need to start getting it out there. I'll worry about that other stuff later. I'll figure out some way to make additional income. My primary concern as a dad and as a human being is just to get the information out there. There's been so much silliness going on in the world. And people are becoming more and more just afraid to do anything. People saying, oh, it's inevitable this happened, or it's inevitable that happened, or I don't deserve to be treated any better. Anyway, so I want to start getting this information out. And again, I'm not an affiliate of any organization. I have a lot of years of studying and spent thousands of dollars and a little bit of background too. For some that may not know, maybe the kids have forgotten. For 5 years, I was a Reserve Deputy Sheriff, Los Angeles County Reserve Forces Bureau. I initially did that. One, for service, because I never did go in the military. I wanted to help serve the community and the republic in which I live, and also the search and rescue team. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But one of the things, in addition to search and rescue, we also did uniform patrol. And so I came across things, talked to a lot of people, and a lot of the regular deputies were grateful for the reserves. And we actually got a lot of compliments from a lot of the full-time officers and deputies. I remember one time we were at a portable shoot house for our qualification shooting. And this one deputy, female deputy, said, or several of us said, "You guys are reserves, huh?" I said, Yeah, how'd you know? He said, "'Cause you're in shape." So that was nice. Not that it meant that the other deputies were not, and just as a group, we were. One of the things also is having 5 daughters and 2 sons. I really, and a wonderful wife, I want to try to help document this stuff for them as a resource and a reference, and also for other people. And I found working particularly among the Christian community, they tend to view violence as something that's abhorrent in and of itself. And believe me, I don't like violence. I don't like being in any kind of altercation, although I have been in several. Not so much as a deputy, but when I was a corrections officer, after we moved to Missouri, I was in more than one. And I had an opportunity to talk to the inmates and get their view on things. It's different than what we would, for polite society. And we're so caught up in thinking that because we're a civilized country and a civilized, majority Western European culture, that somehow have transcended the use of violence. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and it's just a tool. I can only stress this enough. It's just a tool, and a lot of the concepts, over the years, I've taken a lot of training, whether it's jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, some Xing things like that. Wasn't a very good boxer. Definitely not a good wrestler. But I spent a lot of time doing this. And also, the training in the Sheriff's Department and with the Department of Corrections. With the Department of Corrections, I was a firearms instructor, first aid instructor, and I also helped teach combatives, self-defense. And after those experiences and talking with inmates and being in several uses of force, I want to help people feel it's okay to protect themselves. This is something that's really been eating at me for several years, and I just need to get it out there. So anyway, I don't have a body opponent bag, we call it a bob bag. I don't have a baby bob for the kids to practice on bullies. I'll figure out something. I'm out here on assignment doing some work in Southern California for a while. I'll maybe there's some friends that may see this that live in the area. I'm staying at my brother's house right now in SoCal, that maybe we can get together and put a few things together. I've only got this phone. I don't have the fancy equipment and all that stuff. And I just want to get this out there. So first of all, I just want to talk real briefly about a concept that I first read about many, many years ago by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. And maybe it was Colonel. I don't remember if it was full bird or Lieutenant Colonel. Anyway, Dave Grossman was a psychologist for the Army. And one of the things he wrote that I really, really liked, it was his story of the sheepdog. And it was used as an analogy to help people understand law enforcement, the LEOs out there, and military. And he used the analogy of the wolf, the sheep, and the sheepdog. The majority of civil society would be your sheep. Not saying that they're ignorant or anything like that, but they're kind, they're docile. They just go about their lives eating grass or doing their jobs, just doing their jobs, raising their families, and are blissfully ignorant of the wolf, although they're aware there are wolves out there. And the sheepdog is the individual who has stood or is standing as a buffer, a protector of the sheep. And unfortunately, because the wolf has long fangs and claws, it scares sheep. And rightly so. You know, that would be your criminal element, your sociopaths, your other people like that. And unfortunately, when the sheep see the sheepdog, they see fangs and long claws. So they associate one as if it's just a slight variation of the other, although the intent and purpose of the sheepdog is completely different. The wolf's purpose, for lack of a better word, is to prey upon the sheep, the innocent people who go about blissfully living their lives without being aware or cognizant of some of the evil things that are out there. And the sheepdog is willing to put themselves in between the sheep and the wolf. And unfortunately, a lot of people think they're almost the same thing. But the nature of the two could not be more diametrically opposed. And I would hope that some people would take a look at that, read that, try to find that analogy with Dave Grossman. I also have seen that, I believe, on a site that he had at one time. I'm not even sure if it's still around, called Killology, because it was dealt with, excuse me, it was a good dinner. It deals with violence and what the military has done in order to help people overcome the natural reticence to engage in lethal combat with another human being, even though that other human being may be trying to kill them. Some other organizations or outfits that you may want to consider investigating or taking classes from. One is Dr. Ignatius Piazza's front site. Tim Larkin has an organization called Target Focus Training. And I tend to have adopted a lot of the way he phrases things because it resonates with me. I've always felt the way that Mr. Larkin and his staff have felt, but it was the way it's presented and phrased. I really, really like that. There's also an organization that people might be interested in called I believe it's the International Society of Close Quarters Combatives, ISCQC. And again, they've all got different angles, different things that they specialize in. Some are more attractive to one personality type than another. And I get no money or gifts or gratuities from these people. They're just excellent sources of information. Some are more expensive than others, but the quality of the information is really good. And they don't, of these organizations, they don't they don't advertise themselves in a way that I particularly find disdainful. Learn how to kill with your little finger. The one finger death touch. It's all nonsense and garbage. And what I've taught in the past, primarily to groups of young women, but also some men. And then, of course, with the officers, we had a specific protocol that we had to adhere to when we were doing defensive tactics with the Department of Corrections. But a lot of that stuff is just designed to help the state avoid lawsuits. Eventually, not in this particular video, but in other ones, we'll go over some things. I'm not a big fan of pain compliance, but it has its place. But I don't want people to think that's all there is. There's a continuum. I want people to understand that if you feel that you're in a situation where you'd be legally justified to use lethal force, like such as a firearm, in order to save your life or the life of somebody else, that the things that I'll talk about, don't hesitate. A lot of the military spec ops groups, they talk about swift, silent, deadly. Well, yeah, you've got to react fast. And you have to know that when your life is on the line, that you need to get the job done. I've been very fortunate. I haven't ever been it never turned out to be a life-threatening altercation. I've never been in a firefight, although I drew down on a lot of people when I was a deputy, and when I was a corrections officer, we had pepper spray, we had, arm bars and things like that. They could have gone deadly at any time, but I was never involved in it. And I've had friends, and my son-in-law has been in situations where it could be very potentially deadly. So we'll be getting into that. As far as advice and things like that, the only thing that I really want to share this time around is the basic, very simple thing. Don't be stupid. If you want to avoid being mugged, try to avoid going into those areas or situations that would be more conducive to being mugged. All right? Going to an ATM at 1:30 in the morning with earbuds in and, all by yourself. No moon. Why do you want to court danger like that if you can avoid it? Have I done it? Yeah, I've done it. Don't take rides from strangers. I learned that the hard way when I was about 12, roughly about 12. I was living in Burbank, and it was a very rainy day. I had bus money. I was expecting to take the bus from the library to a drop-off point close to at my house, and a guy, which said, "Hey, it's pretty rainy out. You're gonna go out waiting for the bus. Do you want to ride?" And silly me, I was blissfully ignorant of the evil that can be in the world. Sure, I'll take a ride. Well, got in the car, and it turned out that this guy was a predator. He put his hand on my upper thigh, as my left thigh, and started saying things to me that were a little inappropriate, a lot inappropriate. His hand was inappropriate, and I realized right away that this dude wasn't just a weirdo. He was a predator and a pedophile. And I started making a scene. I was only 12, but I knew it wasn't safe to start, just, grabbing the steering wheel and doing things like that. So I started yelling and screaming and bouncing around in the car, making a scene. And that was fortunately enough. He didn't want any attention brought to him. So he stopped, I got out, I bailed, and, I hope that somebody gave him somewhere down the road some therapy. Somebody like that, I think 43 cents worth of therapy would cure his problem. So, don't take rides from strangers. There's opportunities to get wherever you need to go safely. And I hate to say this, and unfortunately, I tend to say some things that are offensive to university graduates. Things like, morality is not situational. Ethics is not subjective. Integrity is overrated. My wife, who happens to be a genetic female, is a wonderful woman. And I'm comfortable saying there's a difference between men and women. And one of those is that men, even among the homosexual male population, we tend to be, as males, very visual. So for the ladies out there, you can say, gee, it's just not fair, to say that, I should be able to wear whatever kind of outfit I want to wear. Okay. More power to you. I cannot stop you. But men are visual animals. Humans are apex predators. Therefore, males, as male humans, are the apex visual predator. And unless we've bought into the social contract theory, whether consciously or unconsciously, and made Burke Human-Locke happy, we are not constrained by social norms such as most of the civil world is. Those that are not constrained by such social norms are sociopathic criminal class. So, if you want to expose your breasts and your glutes for the whole world to see, everybody's going to see it. I'm a fan of women. I think they're awesome. They're much prettier than men. They smell better than men. And unfortunately, there are those that will try to take advantage of a female just because they can. Just like they'll take advantage of a male. Anything they perceive as a victim, and they can get whatever it is they want. Money, a quick thrill, power, whatever. So, again, as a dad and as an older guy, I find modestly dressed women incredibly sexy. And I hope that you can find the inner strength and the sense of pride and dignity to carry yourself in a modest fashion. One, it will help you be less of a target. But if you've got pride and dignity and carry yourself well, you'll look less a victim. Another thing, and this is rambling on, and I'll cut it short here pretty quick. I go for a lot of walks. I work 60-hour weeks typically, and when I go for walks, I see a lot of women, men too, but okay, I have seen this both. I'll just say both. Okay, men and women walking around. They have earbuds in, listening to music. They're got their head down, buried in their phone, texting, listening to music, totally oblivious to their surroundings. And to me, that's a recipe for disaster. I make eye contact with almost everybody. I say hello to almost everybody. One, I tend to be very gregarious. I like people. I like saying hello. Part of it is just to be nice. Sometimes I do it just to aggravate people because so many people are just so dour. I don't understand why they're so sour about life. And some people culturally, I understand this culturally, some people just don't make eye contact. They tend to be very submissive around people they don't know, or somebody they may perceive as being in a position of power or authority over them. I get that. But what I see is dangerous, both among the men and especially among the women. I have a lot of concern for that. And so be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your situation. Even now, it still kind of drives my wife nuts. If we're at a restaurant, I don't like to sit with my back to the door. I like to be in a position where I can watch points of ingress and egress. I can keep an eye on the patrons and see, a potential threat. That way I can be a witness or bail out. I have a CCW, but the world being what it is, we're not often legally allowed to carry firearms. So, again, the world is your weapon, but be aware, and I will start going into things, basic things, look at those other sites for greater specificity. And again, I'm not into techniques. I'm into, basic anatomical principles and physiological principles. So we'll work on that. Again, if there's somebody that's close by that doesn't mind volunteering their time with me, we can start putting some stuff together. Hopefully something better than just my goofy little phone. That'd be awesome. And as we get things rolling, if people find value in it, you can make donations. Except you, Jeannie, you're not allowed to give me any more money. You've been a wonderful blessing in my life. But everybody else, or share these things with people. Get this information out there that we will be sharing. It's just very important to me. And I want to get this done before I'm too old to do it. And before the world becomes more like I think it's going to become. Just based on what I see happening from a secular point of view, and also from a as I read the scriptures, things that, look like they're on track. So, anyway, thanks for spending time with Dad. I apologize this was so long, but this is something I'm very passionate about. I'm not a particularly emotional guy, but I do get very passionate about a few things. And I will sign off and try to get things rolling as quickly as I can to get this information out. All right, thank you. Have a good time, and talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.